It was a warm evening at the Tannery Arts Center, a lively community where kids played freely and neighbors knew each other well. Among them was 8-year-old Maddy Middleton, a cheerful girl riding her scooter like she always did. But as the sun went down, Maddy disappeared and everything changed. At first, everyone hoped she had just wandered off, but as the search went on, something much darker began to surface. The clues pointed to a truth that no one in the community could have ever expected. What really happened to Maddy that day? And how did it all go so wrong in a place that felt so safe? This is the story of a tragedy that shocked everyone. Adrian Jerry Gonzalez was born in late October 1999 in Santa Cruz, California. He was the only child of a woman of Filipino descent commonly known as Reggie, and her partner at the time, Abraham, a Mexican national. Reggie's life was marked by hardship, misfortune, and violence. At the age of 20, while still living in the Philippines, she met a man from California who brought her to the United States. They settled in a small town in Sutter County, California. However, their relationship quickly deteriorated. In 1994, Reggie discovered he was unfaithful, and after confronting the other woman in a public altercation, Reggie faced a minor criminal charge. Once released, she found herself struggling, unable to speak English and with no means to secure stable employment. In this vulnerable situation, Reggie met Abraham, who had come to the U.S. in pursuit of the American dream. They quickly fell in love and had Adrian. Unfortunately, Abraham turned out to be unreliable. He refused to take part in raising their son and was often intoxicated with a volatile temper. When Adrian was not yet 2 years old, Abraham was arrested in June 2001 for assault with a deadly weapon and domestic violence. He was convicted only on the latter charge and sentenced to 3 years of probation. It remains unclear if Reggie was the victim, but the incident marked the end of their relationship. Once again, Reggie found herself alone, this time as a single mother with limited resources. She worked in a medical care facility for a while but had nowhere to live, so she and Adrian stayed on site with others in similar circumstances. When authorities discovered this, they were evicted. Homeless and unemployed, Reggie relied on shelters and food stamps to survive. Things began to improve in 2008 when Reggie found work at a discount store. She worked tirelessly as a cashier, cleaner, and stocker, even making home deliveries. Just as stability seemed within reach, her boss began harassing her, demanding sexual favors under the threat of losing her job. Reggie bravely filed a lawsuit against him, but she was immediately fired and left homeless again. After a few nights on friends' couches, she and Adrian moved into a shelter for homeless families. In May 2013, Reggie's lawsuit was resolved in her favor. Her former employer was found guilty of harassment and ordered to pay her compensation, though the amount was not disclosed. By 2014, she and Adrian moved into Tannery Arts Center, an affordable housing complex in Santa Cruz designed for low-income artists. While most residents were creative professionals, the center also welcomed individuals like Reggie, who were in financial need. Over time, mother and son developed an interest in art, creating oil and acrylic paintings. Adrian, now a teenager, became skilled in painting floral motifs and explored ceramics as a hobby. At 14, he attended the local high school and appeared to lead a normal life. However, he silently battled inner turmoil. Classmates like Katie Carroll later described him as a quiet, introverted boy who often seemed deeply melancholic. Adrian often called late at night, confiding in Katie about the emptiness he felt. He admitted being tempted to climb to the rooftop of his building, overcome by his dark thoughts. Concerned, Katie and her mother encouraged him to seek therapy. Over time, Katie decided to distance herself from him, overwhelmed by his constant discussions about ending his life. Though she admitted that Adrian became fixated on her and other students after their separation, she never felt in danger. Despite his struggles, she described him as kind and never threatening toward her or anyone else. By early 2015, at 15 years old, Adrian was a familiar face around the Tannery Arts Center, often seen skateboarding through the complex. Neighbors knew him as a calm and trustworthy teenager. He had earned the affection of the community, particularly the children, whom he entertained with yo-yo tricks. Adrian also volunteered as a camp counselor within the complex, serving as a guide for younger kids, always friendly and approachable. However, troubling signs began to surface on his social media. His posts increasingly revolved around feelings of anxiety, loneliness, and fears of abandonment. Comments about death and despair punctuated his online presence, yet most people overlooked these warning signs. Either they weren't connected with him online, or they didn't detect anything unusual in his day-to-day behavior. By July 2015, Adrian seemed outwardly ready to start his sophomore year of high school. Meanwhile, Reggie had also built a positive reputation within the community. During holidays, she often cooked large meals and invited neighbors to her apartment to share in the festivities. By this time, mother and son were seen as a tight-knit family that fit well into the artistic community. One of Reggie's closest neighbors was Laura Jordan, a single mother raising her daughter, Maddy, Middleton. Born on October 5, 2006, Maddy was known for her boundless energy, cheerful personality, and love for swimming and dancing. After separating from Maddy's father, Michael Middleton, Laura had moved into the Tannery Arts Center, where she felt her daughter could grow up in a safe, supportive environment. Maddy enjoyed roaming the common areas on her scooter and had a particular fascination with wolves, often mimicking their howls. On Sunday, July 26, 2015, the tannery was buzzing with the sounds of children playing. As evening approached, most had gone inside, but Maddy continued riding her scooter around the buildings. By 5 p.m., Laura noticed Maddy hadn't been around for a while. She began searching for her daughter, calling her name throughout the complex. When Maddy didn't respond, Laura grew increasingly desperate, and other residents joined the search, scouring every corner of the area. After an hour without results, Laura contacted the authorities to report Maddy's disappearance. Police quickly launched a search operation, later joined by FBI agents and volunteers, many of whom were residents of the tannery. Laura described Maddy's outfit, a purple dress and black helmet, and mentioned she was last seen near the complex mailboxes around 5 p.m. Flyers were swiftly distributed and the case gained national attention. Laura dismissed the idea that Maddy had left the complex, as she was forbidden from going near the woods or creek alone and wasn't known to wander without permission. Within hours, Maddy's disappearance triggered a statewide Amber Alert, with hopes of finding her within the critical 48-hour window. Tragically, those hopes were dashed on Monday, July 27, 2015, just before 8 p.m. A police detective inspecting a recycling bin, previously overlooked by volunteers, found the lifeless body of a young girl matching Maddy's description. The discovery shattered the community, leaving Laura devastated and sparking an outpouring of grief and anger. The fact that Maddy's body was found within the tannery meant that the perpetrator was likely someone from the community itself. According to reports, police had already identified the main suspect, Adrian. Witnesses claimed he was seen observing the officers closely during the search and repeatedly asking questions. Any lingering doubts were erased after reviewing surveillance footage. One recording showed Maddy riding her scooter at around 5:05 p.m., likely the last time she was seen alive. Another, taken around 6 p.m., captured Adrian disposing of a bag in the recycling bin where Maddy's body was later found. With this evidence in hand, police arrested Adrian as the sole suspect. Reggie, seemingly unable to grasp what was happening, screamed uncontrollably as officers took her son away in handcuffs. A preliminary medical report revealed Maddy had died from positional asphyxia and sharp force injuries to her neck. On July 30th, prosecutors filed 6 serious charges against Adrian, including murder, kidnapping, and assault. He was to be tried as an adult, meaning a conviction could result in a life sentence. However, being underage, Adrian was ineligible for life without parole or the death penalty. The investigation revealed chilling details. Adrian had lured Maddy away from the terrace where she was playing, promising her ice cream. Trusting him as a familiar face in the community, Maddy willingly followed him to his apartment. Once inside, he attacked her, binding her with tape, hitting her, and strangling her until she lost consciousness. Believing she had died, Adrian violated her privacy in disturbing ways. When he heard her groan, realizing she was still alive, he fatally stabbed her with a sharp object. He then placed her body in garbage bags and disposed of it in the recycling bin. The horrific crime devastated the community. Residents created a memorial for Maddy, leaving flowers, stuffed animals, balloons, candles, and heartfelt messages near the site of her disappearance. On July 30th, Adrian appeared briefly in court while detained at the Santa Cruz County Juvenile Detention Center. His formal arraignment was postponed until September 21st, 2015. Meanwhile, Maddy's family and friends mourned her as a vibrant, clever, and joyful child. On July 31st, under the light of a rare blue moon, the tannery community gathered to honor Maddy with a unique tribute. Remembering her love for wolves, they howled together, lighting candles in her memory. The event was shared widely on social media. Maddy's mother, Laura, called it a way for everyone to release some of the pain caused by her loss. During Maddy's funeral, a poignant moment shifted the atmosphere. Reggie stood by the memorial, crying inconsolably over her son's actions. Laura approached her, embraced her, and assured her that she bore no blame. The compassionate gesture inspired neighbors to start a fundraiser for mental health treatment for Adrian and others in need. Maddy's ashes were later divided among her loved ones, and Laura announced plans to leave the tannery once the investigation and trial concluded, unable to endure the daily reminders of her daughter's death. On August 13th, the Santa Cruz County Coroner's Office released a report confirming Maddy's death resulted from positional asphyxia and sharp force trauma to the neck. It determined her death was a homicide, caused in part by the position of her body in the bin where she was found. On August 23rd, a memorial event, Maddy's Day, drew over 1,500 attendees. Through songs, paintings, poetry readings, and other artistic activities, the community honored her memory. Among the tributes, songwriter Nick Gallant performed Maddy's Song, moving many to tears. As the community grappled with the tragedy, the legal proceedings against Adrian pressed on, marked by debates over whether he should be tried as an adult despite his age at the time of the crime. In June 2016, Adrian pled not guilty to the charges and remained in custody without bail. The trial was scheduled for February 2017 but faced delays. In September 2017, a 9-week hearing began in Santa Cruz County Superior Court to address the ongoing controversy surrounding his prosecution. At the hearing, Adrian faced the severe charges against him, including murder, stalking, kidnapping, and aggravated sexual assault. Dressed in a green shirt and khaki pants issued by the Juvenile Detention Center, he appeared sullen as he waived his right to a speedy trial in response to the judge's question. During the proceedings, those who knew Adrian spoke of his difficult upbringing, shaped by his parents' divorce and the financial instability he and his mother endured, including homelessness and unemployment. His former schoolmate, Katie Carroll, recounted calls where Adrian expressed thoughts of self-harm. While she did not view him as a monster, she admitted feeling no sympathy for him and believed he deserved life imprisonment. The hearing concluded in November, with the judge ruling that Adrian should be tried as an adult and transferred to an adult facility. His defense team immediately appealed, arguing that Adrian, at 15 years old, was neither depraved nor incorrigible and would not receive proper rehabilitation in an adult prison. The case took an unexpected turn in 2019 when California enacted a law prohibiting anyone 15 or younger from being tried in adult court, regardless of the crime. The law, upheld by the state's Supreme Court in February of that year, cited research indicating that minors' brains are not fully developed, making them less culpable for their actions than adults. Based on this ruling, Adrian's defense argued that, despite the severity of his crime, he would have a greater chance for rehabilitation in the juvenile justice system rather than adult facilities. Following this decision, Adrian was transferred from Santa Cruz County Jail to a juvenile detention center. However, in 2020, the state's juvenile system underwent restructuring, leaving his case in a legal limbo. By 2021, the state Supreme Court reaffirmed the prohibition against trying minors under 16 as adults. In April of that year, Adrian's case, now involving a 21-year-old man, was sent back to juvenile court. Adrian admitted to all charges related to the 2015 murder of 8-year-old Maddy Middleton and received the maximum sentence allowed: detention in a juvenile facility until his 25th birthday in October 2024. During the trial, Maddy's mother, Laura, presented a video showing her daughter happily riding her scooter around the Tannery Arts Center. Turning directly to Adrian, she accused him of robbing her of joy and leaving her in a state of absolute despair. Maddy's father, Michael, spoke outside the courthouse, stating that he had made peace with his daughter's death and even forgiven Adrian. However, he maintained that Adrian deserved life imprisonment to ensure he could not harm others. In June 2023, Adrian was transferred to a secure juvenile facility in Sonoma County designed for offenders aged 14 to 24. By mid-July 2024, 3 years after his sentencing, Adrian returned to the Santa Cruz Superior Court for a probable cause hearing to determine whether he still posed a threat to society. If the prosecution could not prove he remained dangerous, Adrian could be released by October of that year. Outside the courthouse, Maddy's family, friends, and neighbors gathered with signs urging the court to deny Adrian's release and impose a harsher penalty. A forensic psychiatrist from the California Department of Corrections testified during the hearing, stating that Adrian had disclosed sexual motivations for his crime during interviews in 2023. The psychiatrist noted that Adrian showed no remorse while recounting his actions and scored as a moderate to high risk of committing another sexually motivated offense on standardized tests. Furthermore, personality assessments revealed traits of schizophrenia, psychopathic deviation, and paranoia. The psychiatrist recommended specific treatments for Adrian as a sexual offender, but emphasized that the therapy did not address other disturbing aspects of his case, such as attraction to minors and necrophilic tendencies. Adrian's attorney contested the validity of the risk assessments, arguing that they were designed for adult offenders and were not applicable to minors. The court's decision on Adrian's potential release remained pending, leaving the community grappling with questions of justice and rehabilitation. According to a social worker from the Juvenile Detention Center, during his time there, Adrian exhibited no violent or aggressive behavior. He completed online college-level courses and actively participated in group therapy sessions to improve his social skills. Additionally, records revealed he developed a relationship with a woman outside the facility, primarily through monitored phone calls, though the relationship ended shortly after it began. After turning 24, the maximum age for staying in a juvenile facility, Adrian was transferred to the Santa Cruz County Jail, where he was incarcerated alongside adult offenders. However, his legal team advocated for his return to the Juvenile Detention Center, arguing it was a more suitable environment while his case was under review. The judge granted the request, allowing Adrian to return to the center while his fate was decided. In yet another surprising turn, on Tuesday, August 6th, after hearing closing arguments, the judge ruled there was sufficient evidence that Adrian committed severe crimes, including murder with a special charge of stalking, kidnapping, forced sexual assault, lewd acts, and assault with a deadly weapon. The judge determined that releasing him would pose a significant danger to the public. She noted that Adrian had never undergone a proper trial for his crimes due to the legal limbo caused by disputes over whether he should be tried as an adult. When he finally faced juvenile court in April 2021, he pleaded guilty and received certain benefits from that process. The judge ordered a jury trial to determine whether Adrian had been rehabilitated after nearly 9 years of incarceration. This trial was to take place within 30 days. However, before proceedings could begin, Adrian's defense attorney withdrew from the case due to a conflict of interest. A private attorney specializing in juvenile cases stepped in and requested a hearing to schedule the trial, setting an initial date for September 23rd. Unforeseen delays pushed the trial's start to November 2024, beginning with jury selection. The jury would decide whether Adrian's release should be delayed for another 2 years, a reviewable extension under laws for offenders deemed not rehabilitated. Tragically, before the trial could begin, Maddy's father, Michael Middleton, passed away unexpectedly on November 4th, leaving the family without closure on the prolonged legal battle. As of the latest update, jury selection was underway. Potential jurors had been identified and would undergo questioning by the defense and prosecution starting November 18th. Once finalized, the jury would hear arguments similar to those presented during the probable cause hearing in the Santa Cruz Superior Court. The trial is expected to last through the end of the year, with breaks for Christmas and New Year. If the trial does not conclude before the year ends, it is scheduled to resume on January 21st. For nearly a decade, the brutal killing of Maddy Middleton and the pursuit of justice have weighed heavily on her family, friends, now teenagers, and the community of the Tannery Art Center. Now that you know the intricate details of one of the most harrowing cases we've covered, we'd like to hear your thoughts. Do you agree with the punishment Adrian received, or do you believe it was too lenient? Share your perspective in the comments.